Hello everyone! A little over a year ago, I reviewed on my channel Japanese from Zero Book 1, and since I just completed Book 2, which I've got here, I feel like it's now time I reviewed it. As I had already said in the book review that I did for Book 1, which you can find in the description box below, I really am a big fan of this book series. Even though there were a couple of negatives that I found as I was working my way through Book 2, and I will mention those at the end of the video, there are definitely good reasons why you should consider investing in this book series if you want to learn Japanese. So let's start first with the positives. Number 1, Japanese made easy. Overall, I found the language used in the book to be very simple and beginner-friendly. This means that George, the author of the book, doesn't overwhelm us with overly complicated grammatical terms and really tries to keep it simple. Each grammar concept is supplemented with a lot of examples, which I believe makes it easy for anyone to understand what's being taught. It's quite obvious that the author really worked hard on making explanations as clear as possible, and honestly, as a teacher myself, I don't think I could have made it any clearer. Number 2, the YouTube videos. The way I worked through the lessons is as follows. First, I read the grammar/vocabulary explanations at the beginning of each lesson. Then I watched the YouTube videos which are available for free. And then finally, I completed the activities. In my opinion, the videos are excellent because the author really re-explains the concepts introduced in the textbook, which to me is very helpful because 1, it's always nice to have something presented in a different way or format. And second, it's quite nice to have something which is pretty close to having an actual teacher. I feel like it gives you that human presence or connection which you typically can't have with a textbook. And also, I find George to be quite funny. The videos themselves are not exactly a repetition of the lessons. If anything, I feel like they explore the concepts a little differently and it helps to reinforce these concepts in your mind. And in the videos, George also tests you on the concepts covered in each lesson. Personally, I find these little tests, so to speak, in the videos to be quite useful because it helps me make sure that I understood the concepts explained in the book and in the video. And if I didn't understand them, then I know what I still need to work on. Number 3, the pace of the book. One of the main criticisms that I hear about this book series is that the pace is a little slow compared to other textbooks such as Genki. It's true, I suppose, but I feel like it all comes down to personal preference. Personally, I like that the pace is slower because it means that each lesson focuses on one concept and it feels less overwhelming and more manageable. You can really take the time to familiarize yourself with the concepts so they stick better in your mind. Personally, I feel like for a beginner in Japanese, it's better to take things slow a little bit so that you don't do too much at a time, considering how different Japanese is from other languages. But that's not to say that there isn't a lot of content in the book. Book 2 has almost 400 pages, and for £20, the price it's at right now, it's honestly not too bad. If, however, after completing Book 2, you feel like the pace was too slow or you need something a bit more challenging, then there's nothing keeping you from choosing something more challenging next. Number 4, the activities. I previously completed Japanese for Busy People Book 1, which I reviewed on my channel, books in the description, and in that textbook, the activities were extremely repetitive. But with Japanese from Zero, I didn't think that was the case. The activities section itself, I would say, is divided into 2 parts. I'm going to try to show you what I mean, so I hope you can see that. So first of all, you've got a presentation of the characters that you are learning, I hope you can see. And then you have various opportunities to actually write them. So here you can see that I've done some writing practice already. And then you have something that I thought was quite clever. You have practice but with words, so you just have to fill in the gaps. And that means that you're not just sort of writing characters randomly, but you're actually, being exposed to words that actually use these characters. It makes it a bit more concrete, I think, if that makes sense. And then you have more activities to practice, and then you move on to the second section, which is where you can actually use the language. So here you've got some, location words drill, which is for lesson 2. Then you have some translations, open-ended questions, which I thought were quite effective. Again, I hope you can see that. And then you have a comprehension activity at the end, which I think worked quite well. They were actually fairly challenging, which I liked, because I don't want, like Japanese for busy people, which I did before, was too easy, not really challenging. And I feel like with this book, you have the right amount of challenge, which is really nice. Another thing that's nice with the activities is that obviously you're going to practice the concepts you are learning in the lesson, but every now and then it also brings back some formally learned concepts so you don't forget them. And if you do forget them, then you know that you have to review them again. So I like that. And the activities have a mixture of controlled activities where you don't really have room for creativity, and others, like the open-ended questions, which I just mentioned, where you can actually be more creative and answer using sentences that you create yourself, which are sort of more relevant to you. And I thought that was quite nice, and that means that you really want to try to express yourself. That makes it more personal. There are obviously other positives that I could mention, but I don't want the video to be 20 minutes long. I want it to be as concise as possible. And I'm now going to move on to the negatives. And frankly, I feel a bit bad about mentioning the negatives because I really like the book, but I feel like a good review needs to have some negatives, so at least you know what to expect. So the first one, and it's something that comes up quite often when people criticize the book, is the typos. I honestly feel like it's a shame that there are quite a few typos in the book. Granted, they are mostly on the English. There's only maybe one situation where the typo was in the Japanese, but I'm a beginner and I could spot them, so they're not like really problematic. But I do feel like it's a shame that the author hasn't sort of tackled this issue, but hopefully when a new edition of the book comes out, this will be fixed. This, I hope, won't put you off from using this book series because, as I said in this review and in the previous one I did for book 1, I truly believe it's a great book series for anyone who wants to learn Japanese. The second negative I will mention is that at the end of each unit you have a vocabulary builder section, which is basically a list of vocab, and this list of vocab is not related to the lesson, so I'm not exactly sure what the intentions of the author was with this list. My guess is that the author put this vocab list there maybe for whoever might find it helpful, so basically if you find the vocab useful to you, then learn it, otherwise just ignore it. Or at least that's what I did. So that's it for this video. I hope you found the review useful and informative. If you would like to buy the book, I would really appreciate it if you use the links that I will put in the description box below. They are affiliate links, and that means that for every book you purchase, I will get a small commission, and there's no price difference for you, but you would be supporting this channel. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you liked it, and I hope I will see you next week. Bye!